Thank you for joining For Our Special Kids, where we openly and honestly discuss the magic and the mess of raising a child with special needs. We are thrilled to have you here and hope this time provides you with some wonder and wisdom. I'm your host, Jennifer Lansing. Let's get started. Well, get ready for some fast-talking, meaningful lessons with Alora. Alora is a longtime friend of mine. We connected over the law of attraction way before Teal was born, and she has been inspiring me ever since. I actually drop you right into our conversation. I didn't even do an official biography or bio on her, but don't be confused. I just drop you right in and then I mention who I'm talking with. A quick comment about the clairs. We are referencing clairsentience, which is clear feeling, clairaudience, which is clear hearing, clairvoyance, clear seeing, and claircognizance, which is clear knowing. And towards the end, we talk a little bit about how Alora is always connected to her spirit guides. Her messages are pretty intense because they're often interacting with her while she's talking with others. And so there are some channeled messages throughout this episode as well. We talk about spiritual parenting and how best to incorporate that into your normal everyday life. I hope you enjoy and let me know what you think. You have this child and your whole world opens up, right? You start seeing things differently. You start seeing all of the beauty and the magic and the wonder and all these new people that have children. And you're like, I didn't even know you existed because I wasn't attracting them, right? Like right. You're a single person, you have single friends. It's just how it happens. You have children and you start having friends with children, or you get married and you start it's the law of attraction right there. Manifest it, you create that whatever that's right for you at that time. But when you have a child with special needs, you also get pulled out of those situations because as your child grows, there is more of the separation, more of the, when you were 12 months old, having a little bit of a shift and a change isn't so drastic. But when they're 6, I walked with Teal into just a kind of a fun happy hour type of a thing at a friend's house. And the 2 other 6-year-olds went right upstairs and started playing. And my daughter stayed and played with the 2-year-olds. And it broke my heart. It broke my heart. Because it was such a huge gap. And they didn't even ask her to play. They didn't ask her to go upstairs with them. And these are friends of hers. Like, these are good friends of hers. So I've been trying to be more vulnerable with that stuff. So I'm talking with Alora.
I put it on mute. I put it on mute because, well, as Jen knows, I'm also a mother, right?
Oh yeah.
And
sorry.
I told them that we were going to be recording, and somebody has left the dog. The dog is out there, and I'm like, I'm texting. Can somebody please get the dog? The dog.
And welcome to recording with real people.
Yes, welcome to real time with real parents in real life.
Yeah. So I'm sitting here with Alora. I love that we just dropped right in there to this conversation that we've been having. She's joining me today to really talk about some woo-woo stuff again, some intuition, some law of attraction, some channeling. Really, it's kind of an open book today. So, Alora, tell me, okay, where are you? You're a mom of 3 beautiful children. Where are you located and how do you describe yourself? Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, no, that's the worst question, right?
No,
depends on
fun.
who you're asking, right? If I'm talking to my improv friends, I do improv. If I'm talking to my spiritual people, I do woo-woo stuff. If I'm talking to my project management people, I'm a really good project manager. I would say I'm in Boise, Idaho, actually. We've been here for, I guess, 7 years now. But I would say that, what do I do? Honestly, it's like, I love the living, the consciousness of living. I love, how do you have a life that you thrive in? And I think when somebody asks that question, depending on their interests, maybe they end up being a personal trainer, or maybe they end up being a writer, right? I've always been spiritual. I've always been psychic. Even as a child, I was like, I mean, there's stories of me being 5 years old saying majorly psychic things and having like jaw-droppingly psychic, like
Okay,
this
hold
things
on.
like,
Yeah, give me an example. I love
well, like
this.
for
Make it
example,
real.
I'm just out of the blue. I mentioned, I don't even know the name, but it's like a long, complicated name that wasn't an American person's name. And then my parents turn on the news and the stories about that person, and they're just looking at me. I would be in this grocery store and something would happen, like a woman dropped all these gallons of milk and they spilled, and I said, "Oh, I had a dream about that." And these things were very normal for me. But nobody told me to stop being psychic, but I think that the reactions around me were like, whoa, that's the faces. I'm really empathic, which led to a lot of codependency that I had to then unwind myself from. So that's its own path. But it's like, I decided, I think at some point when I was young, to don't do that. That makes people uncomfortable. Don't do that. And so I shut down my intuitive side and then manifested because of, without that connection to my own knowing, and now that I have it back, is a major way that I move through the world. People say, how do you, with your personality and your whatever, the way that you roll, mind, body, and spirit, how do you have a life that works? Mostly intuition. Like in terms of like, oh, time to get the laundry. I don't remember to get the laundry. My intuition, there's an intuitive thing about getting the laundry. It's hard to describe. So the point is this, I had a lot of fear then as a kid and a lot of difficulties because without that major part of how I navigated the world, it was rough. And then I went and got it back. So my way of how do you thrive is it's a combination of personal growth, like the actual techniques, which are phenomenal. I learned how to be a shamanic practitioner, which is connecting to the earth, like you, and cycles. Major cycles are major. Folks are doing linear thinking. I grow up, I go to school for this many years, I get a job, I get married. They look at things linearly, but there are so many cycles and they're missing that. Law of attraction, which gave me mental strength, which I did not have. And then I ended up in the last couple of years, I ended up channeling, which is basically how do you receive information from non-physical and basically allow non-physical to have conversations with folks who can't get the conversations themselves. Because I've been talking to my guides for, I don't know, 20 years, I guess. But I don't know what you call that.
You just call yourself a really good
Call me
podcast guest.
Alora. You call me
Alora. Describe
Just
me. I am Alora.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I love this. So we're going to back up a little bit. First of all, 5 years old, you are psychic, having these premonition dreams,
Yep.
knowing things ahead of time. We do talk a lot about the magic of these children with special needs. But I do believe this is way more broad, that most children at this age, at the 5 mark and under, are connecting that way. And they might not be verbally saying it, but they're connecting with their higher selves. They're connecting with their guides. They're connecting with their dream world and the messengers that are coming to them in their dreams. They're connecting with the bird and the squirrel and the tree because they're hearing all of these messages. So if you are a parent now and your children are older, so 9, 15, 17, is that what you told me?
Oh, yeah. 9, 15, 19.
19. Jeez,
Yeah.
Louise. 9, 15, 19. I really want her to still be younger. I'm
know.
rooting for her not to keep growing. Anywho, let's bring them back to when they were children. How did you support them as they started saying things to you like that? Like, oh, I knew that. Oh, I saw that. Oh, I heard that. Basically using their clairs. I mean,
yeah, they're clairs. I think the number one thing, I'm going to say something. So I train with Maria Yesbrew, who's a 13th generation Kiro Apache Holy One, and I don't know, 30th generation tracker of things. And when I started working with her, I was, something she said I've never forgot. She said, when we grew up, she grew up on the reservation, if you didn't hear voices by a certain age, we would worry about you. And I was like, what? And I thought, oh my gosh, what would it be like to grow up in a tribe, a family, an extended family, of family. We call them spamly, like your spiritual family, to grow up in a family where it was normal and it wasn't even a big deal. And when they send you off on vision quest, the whole point was you were going to go and you were going to hear what Creator said to you. And then you were going to come back to the tribe and you were going to share your visions. And then the tribe was going to help you make those visions come true. And so there's two ends. We are a tribe. We have to work together. We have to feed ourselves. And there's those things that you have to do. But then each individual has their own calling. And I thought, what? And so look, we can only be the parent that we're healed enough to be, right? I am a different parent to my 7-year-old than I was to my 19-year-old. Not that I didn't try my best with either one of them, but I keep growing. Okay. So my goal was always, how do I normalize this in a world where it's not normal? So it's a combination of, you had a dream about that? Yes, of course. And then also, at what age do you tell them that's not quote unquote normal conversation? So you give them skills, but you don't make it a big deal. Like, oh no, people don't talk about it. Mm-hmm. It's just the same thing as like at home. Yeah. Maybe we don't really set the table and we reach over each other to grab things and we don't have all the utensils out and it's kind of a free for all. But if you're going to go to a formal dinner, the forks are on the left, the knives and spoons are on the right. You ask to pass things, you sit, you try not to put your elbows on the table, and that's how it goes in the United States. Now, if you're in another country, they have their own, so they have their own cultures for how they set the table and how they eat. And some people eat with their hands and some people, and so you try to neutralize it by saying, here's what's normal for humans. Here's what's normal in this society. Here are your choices based on where you're at, but you put them in bite-sized chunks. And you try and say as little as possible. So they say, I had that as a dream. You say, that's great. And then see if they even need any more. Because when they're settled in something, they don't need you to settle them down. They don't need you to tell them it's true. They already know it's true.
Sure.
The thing I will say about kids is this, and this is difficult, and each kid's different, and each kid's neurodiversity and challenges are different, is this. And I think this is important, especially even for adults working on their intuition. Some people are visual and some people are not. Some people are auditory and some people are not. Some people are sensory and some people are not. I'm an incredibly visual person. If you said to me apple, I picture the apple. And not just an outline of an apple or a sketch of an apple, but a full, as if it's an apple, right? Not everybody can do that. Some people don't even see an apple. And we take for granted these types of things. So that means I'm suggestible. So if somebody says to me, picture an eagle, boom, there it is. Which means that if I have a thought about something negative happening, I'm going to picture it. But if I have a thought about like my spirit guides, I'm going to picture something. Now the question is, am I receiving an image or am I picturing things based on what I assume they to be? Right? And the same thing goes for the different other ways people process, if they hear them, if they see them, if they don't. And so with kids, as you watch them and they're very imaginative or not, the question is, I think this is true for me. And the question is always, how do you know? How do you know? How do you know that was a message and not a fear? How do you know? Have you figured that out for you? And you inquire. Now, the challenge with this is that life is happening, right? Right. So these are the bits that happen in those, if you can, always be present when you can for those times where they have a moment, when they say, those poignant moments. In those save it all up. Save all your good stuff up. Your, what do we call it? Chicken soup for the soul. Save all your poignant stuff up for those moments. And the rest of the time, do life. Get your shoes on. It's time for bed. God. Did you eat your dinner? Right? Yeah. And don't try and make everything a spiritual experience. That is so stressful. Like when everything has to be like a message or poignant. It's like, no. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Did I answer your question?
I have no idea. I have no idea the answer to my question. Yes, I'm sure that was great.
What do you do with small kids? Small bites. But I want to give everybody the framework of, if you think it's a big deal, they had a message. You are going to
freak it
Right.
out of them.
Well, that's not helpful for them. You want to be as neutral as possible.
Yeah. I'll
About these
often,
things.
like when Teal will give me a message, because we all know that she's verbal-ish. When she gives me a message, I will often just look into her eyes and try without my words to say, got it. Thank you. Without words. I try to give it back to her. It's really hard because usually when I get a message, I'm like, oh my God. Kind of, I freak out on the inside because she's giving me a message, right? I'm doing what I'm not parenting myself very well. Let's just say that. But it's really interesting to, I love what you said. First of all, we can only be the parent we are healed enough to be. Alora, come on. That is brilliant. We can only be the parent we are healed enough to be. That's beautiful. And it also, as empowering it also is kind of like a slap in the face of like, well, you better get your shit together because if you're not healed, you can't be a good parent. But I know what you mean.
Yeah, but yeah,
it's true.
yes,
It's
and
true.
yeah,
Yes, and exactly. Okay, so I think that's great. Bite size. Don't make every moment magical. Don't make every moment spiritual. Mornings, like I just need to get better at trying to make a little bit of magical time in the mornings because I'm just kind of a crap show. I mean, I'm like, get out the door. Have you eaten? What's going on? You got to get in the potty. Where's your shoes? Oh my God, where's the snow clothes? Hey, who's got the hat? I mean, all of that stuff in our household. No joke. I walked out, did that with Teal this morning. I walked in, looked at Alex and was like, I've got to figure out a better morning. I
well,
mean,
that would be start the night before. What do I need, and then putting it out before the night before.
Got it, Alora.
Because you're having decision
no,
overload.
I know. I just need to be a little more organized at night. I'm working on it. I did a whole thing with Laura Hernandez, who does Mama Systems, and she just worked me over a little bit.
But
I'm working on it. Anyways, okay.
It's a podcast, so I can sound really put together on a podcast. If you follow me around in my life, I am genuinely happy. I am genuinely optimistic. I am genuinely positive. But no, I am not a perfect parent, and my house is not perfect. And I think that the biggest thing you can do as a parent is to apologize.
Oh, I know.
Say, I was not, I flat out told my kids, I said, I am sorry. I yelled at you a lot going to bed. The truth is I'm stressed out, and I'll give them a little bit. And this thing about kids, their imagination will go, if you don't give them a context, they'll be like, stressed out about what? And then their imagination might go everywhere, but you don't want to overshare because it's not appropriate. I'm stressed out. I have something I have to present at work tomorrow, and I'm not sure I'm ready for it. But you know what? I know I'll be all right, but I'm still feeling stressed out right now. They go, okay, great. So what'll happen is that you give them a little bit of context so they know it's not about them. They know it's fine. They don't worry about it. I mean, you're also modeling the fact that I'm apologizing because the truth is I'm stressed out about something else. And that goes a long way. If you can get that skill down as a parent, you've literally gone 80% of the way. I'm not kidding. But I will also say this thing about kids. I am shocked continually because I homeschool. We unschool, which is another discussion. So I'm around a lot of kids of all different ages, and I also was trained, went to school, got a degree in secondary education and things like that, and I've taught improv to kids, teens and kids. And all the point is this. Little kids especially, and I would say elementary school kids, they don't know what's normal in terms of if they say I'm having a nightmare, you say, oh, nightmares are normal. Oh, they are? Yeah, and you know what? Adults have nightmares too. You do? I think there's this thing when we're not sitting around in these multi-generational, right? Situations where people are around the campfire and they're learning from each other, and you're really seeing life through these, you just are living life with a bunch of people of different ages and things like that. You don't realize that there's no magic. I become 18, I'm an adult, and these fears disappear, these challenges disappear. All of a sudden I understand dating, whatever it is. Like, there's none of that. So when you say, listen, it's normal. I'm scared to go to bed. Oh yeah, I had that as a kid. You did? Yeah. And sometimes I don't feel comfortable going to bed now. You don't? It's normal, but here's some of the things I do. How about you? To let them realize that struggling through things and being unsure is always going to be a part of life. That I think is missing. I'm very fascinated with education. And I think there's been this tendency is in education over the last decades, especially, that it's like, get competent, get good grades, learn your things, grow up, get a job, and have a good life. And there are some truth to that. Like, you want to be, get skills, whatever you are, and if going to school is something you can or want to do, or growing up and getting a job is something you can or want to do, right? I know we're also talking about kids with special needs. So you take that, you turn it into your, whatever that look right for each kid. But the point is this: what does it mean to be an adult? And I think, what does it mean to be a human? What does it mean to be a person? That's what fascinates me. And when you're a spiritual person, or you have access to intuition or empathy, like empathy is like you're empathic, right? There's something out there that's more than just logic that's tickling you, and you're just like, what is that? Well, now it's like, what does it mean to be a person who also has this other information that you don't get from a book? You can't put on a test in that way. How do I integrate that? And then you look at each kid and you go, what the heck? Like, they're all different.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, humbling, right? And they're all making their own choices, also humbling. And you're not as healed ever, maybe, as you want to be, humbling. And you make mistakes, humbling. Mm-hmm. And you take the whole thing and you look at it and you say, what? So this is what I would say to every parent who has a spiritual calling, or there's something about this. And you'd say, what is my goal? Because if you're deciding to raise spiritual kids, or you're deciding to be spiritual, that's a problem. And I'll tell you why. Highlighting that above having a life where you're putting your shoes on and having your mornings, whatever that is out of balance. We say, what is my mission? I want to raise kids who make good decisions. I want to make kids who know themselves. I want to raise kids who know how to communicate as best they can their needs and their wants. I want to raise kids who know what they want. I want to raise kids who know what to do when they don't know what they want. I want to raise kids who are able to navigate life the best that they can for themselves. And I want them to know that here's the spiritual component. When you are happy, whole, and complete in who you are and how you are, that is a part of the highest good. And spirituality, the ultimate, says what's in the highest good for you is in the highest good for all. And can you tell the difference between, right, the things that you think you should do, the things that you're called to do, right, the things that you need to do and you must do? Can you wrap all that up and say, at the end of the day, do I feel like I did my best
with the tools you have? With
the tools that I have, and have spirituality be a natural part of it, and not like, oh no, I want to naturalize it again. I want it to be like, of course you have intuition. I would think that the thing to cap this up for spiritual parent is this: if you're thinking about it, you have to let go of the fact that your kid might not care at all about that topic. They don't care. They don't want to talk. You'd think, oh, I'm so spiritual. Look, not everybody's into it in that way. However, when you model living your life your way that works for you, that's an inspiration. And that puts that energy out there and all that stuff. But there's not one person on this planet that I can't look at and say, you might not call it spirituality. You might not call it intuition. But if you ever had that thing happen where you just knew to do something and you did it, that was your way of interacting with non-physical information. And so when you've got these kids who are like, I'm not into the spiritual, you go, all right, spiritual language might not work for you, but that doesn't mean you don't have an intuition. But maybe I don't use that word with you, but that doesn't mean you're not connected to your guides. That maybe I don't use that word for you. And you start looking at the kid and you think, all right, I say guides, they say this. I say spirit, they say that. What is their language for this? How do they? And when you start looking at it that way, right, not only does it not make you feel pressured to like spiritualize them, but you really elevate them in their knowing in a way that truly works for them. And then you think, all right, how do we get along in this house? We're all very different. You're different. I'm different. This was like this person. And you say, all right, let me go back to this. The spirituality principle, which my guides have been talking about, is the world's going through a little bit of a take apart right now, but what's coming in the emerging world is all about harmony, which is about individuals truly being able to be themselves and also work together. So harmony is different notes, all sounding good at the same time. Think about that.
Yeah.
So harmony is one of the highest values of relationships. In law of attraction, if you're saying, I want a great relationship, it's really, you want a harmonious relationship. I'm me, they're them, and we're harmonious together. The highest good principle makes that feel more practical. I can choose what's right for me. Then you go, all right, you start to layer these things in and you say, if I am looking at, and this goes back to what I said, if you don't know what your sort of mission statement is, or the thing that you feel is right for your family, whether you say, my goal is harmony, our goal is capability, our goal is, there's some words for you as a parent that you're going to find, even if you don't tell anybody else in your family, because you're you helping them your way in your skill set. There's some mission statement. When you really think about it, you can pick those words out. And then you say, when I think the morning went bad, or this went bad, that went bad, I'm going to go back to this and say, am I anywhere close to this? Do I remind myself about this? What is guiding me about that? Let me get out of the weeds. If you're anywhere in the ballpark of that mission, anywhere, you are absolutely doing phenomenal. Because these kids are going to do what they do.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
That's my little speech.
Thank you.
It's probably not a podcast, because aren't we supposed to chat? I'm used to doing broadcasts where I broadcast the guides for an hour. Oh, we were supposed to be chit-chatting. Here, I'll stop you chit-chat.
No, we're done. This is perfect. I love it. We'll be back because we've got to talk about cycles and mental strength with law of attraction and channeling. You just drop that little carrot like, oh, I channel for an hour. Oh my gosh, I loved it. I was actually wondering if they were popping in while you were talking, because you kind of just went with it. And I was like, oh, I kind of feel some extra messages.
I would honestly say I'm pretty much never too far away from the guides, because when I was in my late 20s, that's another story. But the point is this, I really started this path of working with my guides. And for the longest time, I guess you could call me a blended channel, where I'm hearing, they're just present and I'm passing on messages. Mm-hmm. The straight up channeling, I was like, oh no, that's too weird. I don't want to do that, which was funny. They told me it's time for you to channel. I was like, no. And then I went and did it. And of course, you go through the stages of feeling awkward, and then to the point where you're like, yeah, this is awesome. Mm-hmm. But I would say that there's a blend that's happening. So,
well, isn't that the mission for all of us, is to blend, just to blend with our life. Go ahead.
No, yes. I'm saying yes. That's the law of attraction thing, right? Be a blended being.
Yeah.
Say your thing.
No, we're gonna cut this off because we're just gonna make people want more. I want more. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stop recording, then we're just gonna talk for another hour. Okay. No. All right. So here's the deal. How do people find you?
AskAlora.com.
Okay, I'll put that in the show notes. Love it. You do channelings, you do readings, you do broadcasts, you do all sorts of things. I highly encourage people to reach out to Alora and learn more about what she's doing. She's a phenomenal parent. I'm a phenomenal person, a phenomenal friend, and I'm honored that you took some time. I do want to close with one question, and that is, what is one word that you would use to describe a child with special needs?
Awesome.
You didn't even pause. Love that. You should have seen her face. Awesome.
Awesome.
All right, my dear. Thank you so much for spending time with us, and we'll be in touch. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you found one or two meaningful nuggets of information to make your day better. If you think there's value in what we do, please take a moment to tell another friend, family member, or a caregiver. We'd love to hear from you at forourspecialkids@gmail.com. You can send in a question, a comment, a topic that you'd like to learn more about, or if you'd like us to highlight a certain person, please send that information to us. It makes our show so much better and so much more valuable for you. Our Facebook and Instagram handle is For Our Special Kids. And finally, remember to witness the wonder and the wisdom within yourself and others. Until next time.